Hey guys, Emily from ShireFolk Farm here. I wanted to do a little video following up our brine video showing you how to roast your Thanksgiving turkey or your anytime turkey. Today it's a random Wednesday and we're trying to get this done in between baby naps. So if that doesn't prove to you that, it's easy enough for you to tackle, then I don't know what will. But we have three goals. We want this to be really easy. We want it to be a nice, easy recipe. We want it to be a recipe that delivers moist meat and also crispy skin. So those are our goals, and let's get started. Okay, so we've already brined our turkey. It's been sitting here for about 3 days. I think we're right around 72 hours. This is inside a brining bag, which is super convenient. What we need to do now is drain the brine out of this and then rinse off our turkey and let it sit and come up to room temperature, and we're gonna pat it dry too. Okay, so I do like to put a few things inside the cavity of my birds. So an onion, I cut in half and then I guess cut into eighths. I keep it savory inside the bird. I know we put some like sweeter spices in the brine, but I keep it savory in the bird itself. Some fresh sage and some fresh thyme and a little bit of rosemary. I am like way low on rosemary right now. I just snipped what I've got outside. So this is all just gonna go into the bird. I like to put lemon in here, a couple fresh lemons, one big one or two little ones. All I have in the house right now is what was in the brine last night, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop these in here. And that's all for inside the bird. Okay, I'm gonna mix up some herbs in some oil to treat the skin of the bird, which I'll show you in a minute. You can do this with butter too. A lot of people just chop the herbs fine and mix them into room temperature butter and then smear it. We are dairy free, so we're not gonna do that. We're gonna use oil. I'm gonna use about, I'll mix up half a cup. I might not use it all. I probably won't use it all, but this is the kind of thing that can get used for other stuff. So these are all the same herbs that went into the chicken. That's not a chicken, that's a turkey. These are the same herbs that went into the turkey. Yeah, and that's gonna be a lot more oil than I need, but that's totally okay. And we're ready to go. So you can see our skin's drying off really nice. It's not looking quite as shiny anymore. That's gonna help it get really nice and crispy in the oven. The dry skin is key to get crispy. To keep the breast meat nice and tender and moist, you go ahead and run your hand up underneath, just gently. And there's some kind of membranes that hold it to the skin. But you go ahead and just run your hand all the way up here and loosen that. And try not to tear the skin. Go ahead and do it on this other side. Okay, if there had been fat globs right here or anywhere around the inside of the cavity, I would pull those off and I would tuck them up under here to use its own fat to baste itself, because that's really nice to do. If I was doing a butter version of this, I would take a bunch of butter and smush it up under here. Sometimes people will put lemon slices under here or bacon or stuff like that to give it a really nice flavor. But I'm going to use some of this lovely herb oil to get under there. Give it a nice massage. And then I'm just going to take this and rub it on the bird. Really want to get it all over. All right, so that's done, and that's gonna give it a nice crispness to the skin. So between drying it and then rubbing it with some oil or butter, we're really gonna help it crisp up. We're also not gonna baste it for the first hour, and just make sure that that skin continues to be able to just dry out in the oven a little bit. And then last thing before I truss it up, I like to add a little bit of salt to the skin. Not a whole lot because we did brine it. If I had used a saltier brine concentration, I might not do this, but since we only use a half a cup per gallon, I'm not worried about our bird turning out too salty. And I really like a salty, crispy skin. Whenever you're getting a bite of skin, it's usually just a little bit on turkey. So, you know, salty skin is no bad thing, in my opinion. All right, we're gonna truss the bird next. What this does is it holds all of the flappy pieces close to the bird. Anything that's sticking out like this is gonna get really warm and get overcooked and maybe even burn. So we like to tuck everything up nice and tight. So you just put this string underneath the tail and around the legs and just keep it simple. You can just tie it like you're tying your shoes. Double knot it for good measure. And then the wings, you have a couple options. Some people tuck them under. You can use string to tie them around. My favorite method is just to, I forgot my knife, here we go, is just to make a little hole in the skin, just a little one, and kind of go to where the wing wants to be, and then make a hole a little way back from that, right here. And I mean, that's a really little hole. You can barely even see it. I don't know if you even can see it on the camera. And then just, oh, where'd it go? There it is. You can tuck your wing into that little hole and it'll keep it together. No knot work necessary. But you can also take a string and put it in, put it around it. Some people take them and put them back underneath like that. So there are a lot of options. That would just end up looking like this. And it takes a little forcing, but you can get them there. And that way it's kind of reclining. So I actually really like the way that looks right now. So let's go ahead and do that. I've never roasted one like that myself. So now we'll see how the experiment goes. So we're about ready to go in the oven. And here's the family saying hello before we throw our turkey in the oven. Can you say hi, Emmett?
Hi.
Do you like turkey?
Yeah. No.
Well, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
He doesn't like turkey. Silly guy. So some people like to take it a step further and like inject the bird. I have nothing against that. But what I love about brining is that it makes your meat so moist that you really don't have to do all those extra steps, which is super nice. If I were going to inject it, I really favor maple syrup as an additive to that injection. Not a lot of it, just a little bit. I have been known to inject with a combination of maple syrup and bacon grease. Really delicious, very savory, a little smoky, so you have to be ready for that if you're going to do that. You know, my aunt swears by, she does her own maple syrup, so she uses maple syrup and butter. A lot of people do just straight butter or like seasoned butter with herbs and salt and stuff. Again, I don't think it's necessary when you're brining your bird because they are just so moist already. So I'm going to skip that. All right, so we're going to talk about getting our turkey in the oven. So we've been preheating at 500 degrees. Alton Brown popularized this method. You use a really high temperature right at the beginning to go ahead and get your skin a little drier, crisper, browner, and he recommends doing that for I think 30 minutes. Whenever I've done that, it smokes out the whole house. It makes a real smoky mess. So I'm just gonna put it in at 500, and then that way it's preheated to that level, and then I'm gonna turn it down to 325 when I put turkey in the oven. That's kind of my happy medium between those two methods of just like regular roasting and Alton Brown high temp roasting. So I do have it at 500, but I'm gonna reduce it to 325 when I put the turkey in. And then I'm going to let it go for at least an hour before I temp it, but I will start temping it at an hour even though this is a 16-pound turkey, because fresh turkeys just cook way faster. Every year I have a couple people calling me and being like, I have a 20-pound turkey and it cooked in like 2 hours, is that right? And there are guidelines with different temperatures, like, you know, I don't know the exact numbers, but for example, something along the lines of at 350, every pound takes 13 minutes or something like that. I find that I start temping at an hour and see where I'm at and go from there. I also won't baste for the first hour because I, again, want that skin to keep drying out. Some people say they don't baste at all because some of the liquid that's coming out is juice and some of it's fat, and you don't want to actually wet the skin with the juice. So I could use more of that herbed oil. I could do another butter rub down if that's what I was going to do. So you have options. But, you know, I'm old-fashioned. I like to baste. Who doesn't like basting a turkey, right? So I'm going to baste. And let's go ahead and put it in, and we will see what we see. Okay, so we're at 161 now. The temp we're looking for is 165, but typically most folks agree that you can pull it around 160 or above and that it's going to keep cooking for about 5 degrees. So I'm really comfortable taking this out now. My skin didn't split here, which is nice. That's really common, is for this skin to split that's called the keel bone. But you can see it's a nice, beautiful golden brown and ready to rest and then ready to carve.